Hello everyone and welcome to Flourish with Jane. So in today's video, I am going to be doing an introductory session or an overview or a prologue, if you may, of the book of John, because I am intending on doing a Bible study series in the next couple of videos of the book of John. So what that means is that I'm going to be going through each and every chapter and just basically elaborating my understanding of those scriptures. So I'm sure it's going to be fun. So let's get right into it. So there are a few things that are known about John. From the book of Mark chapter 1 verse 19, we learn that at the time when Jesus was looking for disciples, there was a day where he was walking along the Sea of Galilee, and he came across John, whose father's name was Zebedee and his brother's name was James, but not the writer of the book of James. So from this we know that his father's name was Zebedee and his brother's name was James. The second thing that we learn about him is that he was part of the inner circle of Jesus. The Bible tells us in Matthew chapter 17 verse 1 to 3 that there was a time when Jesus chose a few of his disciples, and this included Peter, James, and John. The Bible says that Jesus took them to a mountain, and there he transfigured in front of them, and they were the only ones that saw him transfigure. So we also know that Jesus loved John very much, because after Jesus has risen from the dead, the Bible says that he appeared to his disciples on more than one occasion. And on this particular occasion, the disciples were out at the sea trying to catch fish, and the Bible says they could not catch any. After they were ready to give up, Jesus appeared to them, but they could not recognize him. Then he said to them, "Throw your net onto the right side of the boat." And when they did so, they caught a multitude of fish. The Bible says in John chapter 21 verse 6 to 7 that then the disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, "It is the Lord." So it was John, the disciple whom Jesus loved, that recognized Jesus. The other thing that we know about John's character is that he was a zealous but also an impatient and intolerant person, because at a time where Jesus was on his way to Jerusalem, he passed through a Samaritan village, and the Bible tells us that the Samaritans in that village did not receive him well. In Luke chapter 9 verse 54, the Bible says, "Then James and John noticed that, and they said to him, 'Lord, do you want us to send fire down from heaven so that it may consume these people?'" This goes to show that he was very intolerant, but he was zealous about the gospel that Jesus preached. It is recorded that at the beginning of his ministry, he worked very closely with Peter, because the Bible in Acts chapter 3 states that he was with Peter when they healed a lame man who was sitting at a gate called Beautiful. And finally, we know that John was the disciple who lived with Mary, the mother of Jesus, after Jesus was crucified, because the Bible tells us in John chapter 19 verse 26 to 27 that when Jesus was being crucified and before he died, he looked down and he saw Mary, his mother, and the disciple whom he loved. Then he said to Mary, "This is your son." And he said to the disciple whom he loved, "This is your mother." And from that day on, John lived with Mary. So the answer to this question is found right in the scriptures. John chapter 20 verse 30 to 31 says, "But these are written so that you may believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and in believing that you may receive life in his name." So that's the reason why John wrote this book, that you may believe and receive life. That's it for today. And until next time, be ready for the continuation of the study of the book of John. We'll be starting with chapter 1 on my next video. So I'm excited about it, and I hope you don't miss it. Bye.